Hey, today we're gonna talk about Shopify apps again and how much money can actually be made with those. We want to pick a few of them, a few developers, and try to share whatever we found on how much do they make, what sort of a business those are, and just to see how much it is worth. There's one thing that I wanted to go through first, since it actually kind of is happening or just happened, like Figma and Adobe.
Right. Yeah.
Like $20 billion. What do you think? Like they were the first time I saw the news was actually from the CEO of Figma on Twitter. Like maybe a few hours before it got caught up, like over the internet. So
that's probably more than any Shopify app is worth.
Yeah, and it feels so weird because I always thought of Figma as like an app that is out there to destroy Adobe, like to actually fight the big guy in the room, to make things collaborative, to make things available like for the public for free. And now
and that's probably how it's started, right? But then and I guess that's what Adobe also thinks, and better to eat than be eaten, I guess.
Yeah. So what?
But there's a lot of. I mean, I don't use Figma a lot personally. We use it, of course, sometimes in projects. But there's a lot of worried comments out there, right, from heavy users.
So what we're gonna see like $100 annual subscription in the Creative Cloud right now for Figma.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
I didn't see that one coming. I mean, I haven't thought about it actually, and I don't know too much details. I didn't know that Figma was as big as they apparently are, because they do feel like that newcomer, like new and cool newcomer, but they're not really true already, I think.
Yeah. That's true. So I didn't think about it too much. So what the CEO of Figma, what he shared first was the actual first plans, and what he's saying is that Figma is going to be still run kind of separately as a separate business, and he would stay there and they would do this thing kind of independently, which was kind of what we heard, I think, from Instagram, right? Back in the day.
It's quite common. I mean, it's a completely different example, but I sold my 10 people company to a bigger company, and that was the same. I stayed on and so on, because I think everyone in the smaller company and the users of that product is worried, but I don't think that usually stays the case over time. I mean, it's the synergies you're after all. So I think that's a message to try to keep people calm, but and also for them to figure out during a period exactly how to do it. But I don't think long term it will be like that.
Yeah, probably. Let's get down to business.
Yeah, I've looked into more detail into two apps, and what I tried from that and what I've been doing before sort of is to find a way to quickly evaluate any app, okay, what could the potential be here, or in what range could they be revenue wise.
So maybe that we can actually brainstorm about something on the developers that I found, because I don't have the exact numbers on them, but they feel quite big and actually very different. So what I wanted to also, what I was curious to find, that the businesses that they are in are quite different in terms of as the size or something like that.
Okay. But I could start with this. I prepared some numbers, because what I thought was interesting here, and I will show, is that these two, they were just picked at random, but the metrics are very similar, and it would be interesting then to try to apply those to what you know and see if it still matches sort of. So two apps where I could find, and these were either for sale or they were seeking investment, so they went out with some more information. So the first one is Firepush, and this is the 2019 numbers that were available. So they do SMS, email, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And Easy Catalog is an app to create a PDF catalog out of your product catalog, basically, in a easy way. So very different apps in that sense, with different use cases. So first, the public information that's available. So the number of reviews, of course, is very interesting because that sort of shows, okay, how many users do they have? More reviews, usually more users, right? And there's also other things there, but I didn't put in here, but that should be looked at, like when did they launch? And of course, their pricing plan, you need to sort of look at in a more qualitative way to figure out, okay, what could be the reasonable level of revenue here. So this is, of course, available for all apps. And then what was possible to find for these guys was also their MRR, and for one of them, the number of active merchants. So, and the first thing that's interesting here, I think, is that both of these are almost exactly 10 times. So they're making 50K on 660 reviews, and they're making 5K on 69 reviews. And this might, I mean, I don't think it's this exact, but it's quite interesting that these two picked on random are that close. So that would be interesting to sort of compare with others later. For Easy Catalog, didn't have the total number of merchants. So there I will try to do that sort of calculation that I think can be done. So yeah, what I calculated for these then is, okay, so for these merchants that we know they have, and we know how many reviews they have, so how many leave a review? So out of the active merchants, 16.5% has left a review. And I remember looking at this a couple of years ago, and that seems like a reasonable number. I think it's quite high. It's somewhere like 5-10%, I think, would be the average from what I found then. But of course, you can get a lot of reviews if you have a really bad product, because people want to write that, or if you have a really good one. But you can also, of course, get more reviews by being very active in asking for reviews and so on. So
like the Shopify SEO game is the review game, right? So
yeah,
the more and the faster you get, the better you can get ranked on it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think somewhere like 5 to 20% maybe it's hard maybe to get a lot higher than that. So I would think this is quite high, but not extreme. Yeah, and this then means that they're making $13 per merchant per month, which is also a reasonable number. So they actually have it's a free app, but then you pay for the usage of number of SMS and emails and so on.
And how much do you pay? Like what is the pricing?
So it starts it's like per usage. So there's different tiers. So it starts quite low, but then it can go up to like 100 and 200 and beyond, I think. Okay. But also it's like a sensibility check that $13 per active user, it looks reasonable, I think. Yeah, so what I did then was to okay, if we add those same metrics to the other one, like 16.5% reviews per active merchants, would mean that they have 418, and that they then are making $12 per merchant per month. So yeah, as I said, because these are like exactly almost 10 times, of course they become very similar. But I think with this approach you can sort of more or less evaluate any app, look at how many reviews do they have, then you put in, okay, you check the reviews per merchant, put in like 10%, then they would have 10% more merchants, and you put in some like judging from their pricing plan, okay, what is a reasonable average revenue per merchant, and you would come to some number, which will of course never be exact, but I think you can find quite a good range with very little information actually, which is what I find interesting here also.
Cool. And well, basically we want to find out like how much money does like someone make, right? So who are the developers of those? Like, do you know if those like are some So the first one is more of a real company, I think 10 employees, and they also have other products. And the second one making 5K a month, that's one single developer, which is like what he wrote, at least spending very little time on customer support and so on. And that one was launched 2020, so it's been like 2 years to get to that stage. But now, according to the numbers both that I could find and that he says himself, it's sort of like quite stable on there and getting about 50 new installs per month. So at this point, it seems like it is like that sort of self-going
machine more or less. But of course it takes some time to get to that point, and still it's like at 5K, so it's not bringing in massive amounts, but it still shows that it's doable to do it like a one-man show.
Yeah, well, that's true. So I saw quite some contrast in who are building what in terms of the apps, and this is also the case when something is is doable. So I guess I can share like what I found, and then maybe we can, like in the background, we can compare with your numbers, like if that is somewhat in line. I don't have a deck like you. I didn't come prepared. I have like a lot of notes, but not something to share. So the first one is this Txtcart Plus. So it says it's not compatible, but basically because our partner account is European and they only serve like the North American fancy currencies, like the Canadian dollars and the regular ones. So those guys have 12 employees, and after a year and a half, they were doing 500K per year. So they were tracking to do 500K for 2020. Which is like 42K per month. But
on this app only, or they have more?
This is the only app that they do. And yeah, it says it has 25 reviews, but basically it seems that they are using some other channels to sell that. Just because it doesn't look like they're using the Shopify SEO. And basically this is like what they have as pricing, so $49 to $299 plus some fee on the top.
Quite expensive for being a Shopify app.
Yeah. So it looks like they are doing this kind of as a business, but Shopify is more of an integration kind of that they have for this platform. So maybe they're focused on Shopify as a single customer, but not on Shopify as a platform to actually like as a distribution channel. Like what we are thinking of doing is like how do we make Shopify the distribution first of all, and then like everything else. So that's that's one case. It's quite weird.
Do you have any information on how many users they had or something like that? Was that
so? No, that they actually haven't. No, so they only what there is we know that there's like half of the team is developers. They were seeking for some investment of like 200 to 400K for just expanding the team and continue to develop the product. But yeah, nothing else actually. So it looks like this one is kind of tight in terms of having 12 people for $500,000 that they were tracking dollars a year. It's hard to afford them full time. Right?
Yeah, true.
I mean, if we're just thinking of gross amounts, in the US for sure. In if they are spread out, then probably also hard, especially if there's developers. So maybe those are the people doing it like full time, part time, and like a few full time, a few part time. But it's not something that actually makes a lot of money, as they're looking for not that big of an investment for just growing the product.
I see. But it could also be, I'm thinking like they have quite few reviews as compared to what I looked at. So, but if their average revenue is a lot higher, so I just made a quick calculation. Is they're making 300 per merchant per month on average with the success fee and so on. They only need 133, and then actually the ratio is still matching with the number of reviews. So it could be that they have like bigger clients on average and are making more from them.
Yeah, that could be the case. So then I have another case, which is an app that basically adds the integration for Instagram to the Shopify store. So this one, InstaFeed, Instagram Feedstory. It has not as many reviews, 535, but like pretty much all of them are 5-star. But this one it's actually great. So if you take a look at who does this, let me just go through some of the notes. So this app is priced as at $4.95 per month. As soon as the website reaches 1,000 visits threshold. So basically, it has a lot of free users, and basically the developer shared that they have 2,500 monthly installs of the app. So there's like a lot of users, and the last reported MRR is $22,000 per month. So it went from around 3,000 to 22 in a year and a half. It was quite a rapid growth, and from month to month it's like almost doubled at first, and then like about half a year of steady growth, and then it went up like on like September to December. So like the autumn and winter, I guess basically that like the e-commerce peak after the summer, that's when it actually went up again. What is interesting about this thing is that so $22,000 a month of MRR, it's a single guy. It's one developer in Mumbai who built this, who grew it up, and basically he's on to his next venture to actually build a CRM for e-commerce. So he's trying to raise money to focus on that, on something else. But this like single app made him kind of quite substantial revenue inside. And
definitely.
the growth was dramatic, because the first year that he kind of closed, it was at 150K. So basically it was only like, so the projected revenue is actually super high compared to like what he did. Like it's just still growing crazy.
But the pricing was capped at $5, or are there more expensive plans?
No, I cannot find anything. Like it seems to be just $5 as all features free to use, and $4.95 if you cross 1,000 page visits. That's it. Like super simplistic.
Yeah, that's nice. It's a nice difference to your previous one also, which is probably quite a high price point for...
Yeah. So there's like the team that can barely afford themselves, like as it seems, I don't know. And this dude is a hustler, like growing and building stuff, and quite successfully as it looks.
So yeah, I just put in the numbers here in my little calculation. So let's say he's making on average $2.50, maybe, so half of them goes over. Then he has 8,800 active merchants, which is probably on the low end is if he has 2,500 installations. But what you should see also or know is that you will also have a lot of uninstalls. So I looked at that for one of mine. They had like, I think, the ones that had 4,000 active merchants, they've had 44,000 approximately installs, so 40,000 uninstalls also. So out of those 2,500, he's definitely not keeping all of them. So maybe around 10k active can make sense, and that would mean that he has like 5% reviews per active merchant. So it's still within our magic formula there.
Yeah. So my guess would be is that I would think that probably the conversion would be slightly lower, just because if you have a store which is super small, then connecting it to your Instagram feed and not paying anything for that is kind of why not do that?
Yeah.
And if the store works and actually has like enough sales, then why not keep a $5 app to also like keep all that together? So my guess would be that probably just not like many stores would not get to the $5 threshold and actually just not paying to him. But anyway, that seems to work quite good, like for him.
And I think that has sort of been the standard play on the Shopify App Store, to have something quite simple that solves one need, You have it for free, and it's still very cheap as a paid version, either as in this case when you hit a limit or with some functionality that some users want. But I think then also as Shopify merchant has grown, I mean there are huge e-commerce companies on Shopify now, then the apps has also become more sophisticated, and we see, as your other example, the ones where it's like a few hundred per month. But it sounds like this guy is sort of the original Shopify app strategy.
He seems to be crushing it.
And it is definitely a numbers game, right? So, I mean, that's the benefit, that there are hundreds of millions Shopify merchants out there that you can reach through one channel. So it makes sense that it's a volumes game, that the price point can be a lot lower if you can handle all of those users without too much support.
Yeah. So I have 3 more, which I don't have exact numbers on, but I think they're kind of cool to discuss because they are very different businesses. That's going to be number 1. They are called Hulk apps. So those seem like I guess probably on the end of the more successful guys on the platform, but not the ones that we would at least compare us to, at least as of now. So this is like a legit business. Those are around 180 to 200 employees, somewhere around that. And what is interesting is that basically they launched 18 apps on Shopify. What they do is that they also have a lot of other services that they provide. So basically they seem to be just like an agency doing everything. And this website that's we're looking at, it has around 60,000 visitors a month. So this is actually also a sales channel to simply get sales for building shops, for building a lot of custom solutions. So this is just kind of a legit business with a lot of people who's doing a lot of stuff around building this thing. And that's what you're gonna see, right? All the way from this one-man show to the really big companies doing both the apps and Exactly. And so then there's another one that we can maybe try to somehow size, what kind of project there are. So those are called Conversion Bear. You heard of them? I know when we did the analysis that we went through in the last episode, they were winners in a lot of categories. So they have I haven't actually seen how many apps they have, so I think they have maybe around 15 apps or so quite a few, but they have one which is the one they are pushing as hard as they can, which is called this Honeycomb. The pricing for this app is actually $50 to $150 a month. So it is quite expensive. It has 400, is it on Shopify? Yeah, so it has 446 reviews, almost all 5-star. Only one was 1-star where a person said that it just doesn't work. So maybe it was an edge case when it was just not compatible with their site. And they're mentioning somewhere that they have 90,000 stores connected to their apps. So this is kind of a big scale, they covered, but there's also a free version as well, right? So which is just a trial. So I wonder how much do they make overall. I have a feeling that this single app should be over I don't know, over maybe 1 to 200,000 a month of sales. Given how hard they push and given how how much traffic they kind of have around that one. I put in here if they have 10% review rate. And they're making on average 49, so their lowest tier.
and then they are making 223K a month. Yeah, so that matches with your gut feeling.
So it seems to be quite big. And what's also interesting is that out of the apps that they have, like the majority are actually free. So like half of them are free, and the others have some paid version, where this Honeycomb is kind of actually the biggest one that they're pushing the hardest, like throughout the site. So what I think is cool to know about them is like they are very spread out team. So they are looking for people in different specific locations, which I think is how their team is split. So they're looking for a developer in Ukraine, for a designer in Israel, and for a marketing person in the US.
Okay.
But at the same time, they have only 7 employees on LinkedIn. So I think they're like a team of maybe 10 people, like 15, including some freelancers, who are building kind of a nice business compared to like to the other ones. So that's something, something interesting, I think.
Yeah, but that's also another type of numbers game there, that they have many different apps. And I think that's also a common strategy, that you have one that is free, that sort of everyone more or less has a need for, and then you upsell to other more niche ones.
Exactly. And it's like, so they have one that they focus on to make the money, because the other ones are actually also cheaper. So there's one for like $15, another for like $30 a month. Yeah. And there's the one like with the most features, the most kind of cool one that they're pushing, which probably makes them the most output at the end. Like the last one that I have, it was weird. It was a really weird thing, because they're called Common Ninja. I think that's I'm not even going to guess like what are they making like on the apps. They have 19 apps, but I think that their like core business is completely different. And I think they're using the apps to probably just pay their salaries, like something like that. They had a 1.2 million pre-seed round to get going. They have 10 people on LinkedIn as their employees, and they're based on Israel. So that's like kind of a small background, but check this out, like what they're actually doing. So they're called Common Ninja. They have Shopify apps, but it was really fun when I found out like what is actually what they're doing. Like their main focus is not exactly the Shopify, but they are building a platform for no-code development of like small SaaS tools. So so what you can actually use their tool for is build your own app, which will potentially have like integration with Shopify, but not necessarily. So it's like like an e-commerce building platform where you're creating something very simple, and you can earn money off your app through them, which I guess would be just like as an intermediary between Shopify. So their pricing is actually like some fee plus transaction fee, where the transaction fee is like when people will pay for your app to use like through them. So it's like a Shopify app store on like an app store on top of a Shopify app store, but
you can also connect to other. It looked like that. So WooCommerce and others. So
So it's like that. The only thing like which it seems to me is that they seem to be very new. So basically, if you go to their plugins, like this is the whole list. Like if Shopify has like 7,000 apps, this is all that they have right now, which I understand is built by them, but not only by them.
But isn't this maybe only the ones they've done themselves, or should it be all?
I think this is all. This is actually all, because as a developer, when you join their platform, you actually get the distribution like from them. And they kind of promise some sort of distribution for your apps, which means that, basically like this one is some builder for comparison tables for like products, whatever you're doing. And so like it looked like they are building the Shopify apps as probably one of the main businesses, because like 19 apps is quite a lot. But this seems to be like their main focus, and that's like what they're using their revenue to finance, like building this platform and trying to grow that.
But isn't those 19 Shopify apps then the apps coming from here that could be built by them, or
okay. So those are the ones. So I guess they're trying to basically combine, like build a platform where you can build an app, but at the same time use the power of Shopify distribution, so that you can,
and the other platforms distribution then probably, so they aggregate that, so you can build it easily there, and then you get the distribution to Shopify, to WooCommerce, and the other sort of app stores or plugin stores.
Right. So I haven't found like all the details, like how easy is that. So they mentioned that it works with Shopify, like what else, like Magento, WordPress, Wix, Webflow. So a lot of things, but I'm not sure if that works like out of the box, that you build some business logic and then it connects to everything. But maybe there is some API connection to do at least some of the stuff, or to simplify the connection of things.
Yeah, and then you get even more distribution, like through one channel.
So I guess that would it would depend on like how well can they actually distribute, because if you as a developer like if you're trying to build something that would work like as well as like in Shopify as in Magento or something else, then you're maybe not going to focus as much on distribution like on a single channel, which means that is it like these common ninja who's going to be like looking for reviews, or like how will like support be handled, like this is something that is not clear, I think, but I think it's kind of an interesting business to try to kind of. It looks like they want to kind of just win it somehow, like the whole system, and be in the center of all the e-commerce app development, like in that way.
Yeah, and that's interesting with a ecosystem that's as big as the Shopify App Store in itself. Is like then there will happen side businesses and other setups around that, right? And then there's the different isolated ecosystem, so the Woo, and then they together become an even bigger one. So as soon as something becomes so big, there's a lot of different opportunities.
That's true. So that's all I have. I think we got like the range at least of the revenues from the app from around like 5K to 200 something of what we could estimate per app.
Yeah,
which sounds like it could be a big business. I still think that the Indian guy with like 22K MRR is like the winner.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah, or the conversion bear, depending on which way you go. Sort of, they seem to be the bigger company here.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure like how big they are in reality, because I mean, in our agency, if you check LinkedIn, there's one employee, which is like me. So if they work with a lot of like freelance developers, then that would probably be not visible. But yeah,
exactly.
So it looks like it could be a nice nice revenue stream to like either on its own or to finance some other like direction of business as like some of these examples actually do.
Yeah. And I think but now we've looked at those that are making some revenue, those are more interesting. I think there's also a bunch that never takes off, basically making no revenue. So it's still, you still need to have a good product marketed in a good way, right? And so have some patience. Like the one I looked at that's making 5K a month, which is, I mean, if it's completely more or less passive, that's very good still. But that's taken 2 years. So, and as we spoke about in last episode, I think the competition is getting tougher and tougher with many more apps in there.
Exactly. So we're not seeing everyone who actually failed and like everyone who launched something but never made it.
Yeah.
But when we think of this like Shopify fee that happens only like after $1 million a year of ARR, that's not something like too crazy, like from at least of what we can see, because basically all these developers, well, they do look at the cumulative amount from the apps that they make, but it seems that they are like quite big businesses, some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the big question, or like the practical question, is how to speed up like the time from idea to submission, like of the app, like how to have that like as quickly set up as possible.
Yeah, and sort of the idea generation and the validation of that maybe even before. So the more certain you can be that you are filling a need that at least enough merchants have, the better, the quicker that cycle would be also. That's true. At least to figure out if there is a need, what sort of competition there is in that niche, as as we saw, like for some in the App Store, you see that's basically there's like a ton of the same stuff doing the same thing, and that's that would probably be hard to beat. Yeah.
So that's it. I think that was actually like an interesting one. At least less specific and stuck within like our specific story than the previous ones.
Yeah, it's a bit more generic, and but yeah, you never know.
Cool. Then I guess that's it.